everybody, including all the boys out there. OK, a big news hour coming up for you. Breaking news. Just minutes ago, a further 2 American aircraft landed at RAF Fairford. This comes as Donald Trump refused to support from the Prime Minister and launched a scathing attack on the United Kingdom. Is the UK's special relationship under threat?
This, of course, here at RAF Fairford has been given permission by the United States to be used as a base to launch what are being called defensive and strategic operations. As a C-5 sets to look to take off, 2 C-17s, heavy transport planes, have landed. We believe they're set to support B-52 bombers.
And meanwhile, former Prime Minister Tony Blair has chimed in, condemning Sir Keir Starmer over his decision not to support American strikes on Iran from the start. Should the Prime Minister have listened to Blair, though? And Britain could be heading for another energy price shock, with experts warning the country may have as little as 2 days' worth of gas in storage as that Middle East supplies begin to dry up. Talking of which, should King Charles delay his planned visit to the United States as tensions grow between Trump and Starmer? Whitehall sources say there's been a last-minute wobble over signing off that trip. And is Kemi Badenoch on defection watch? The Conservative leader is reportedly eyeing her first major reshuffle, as insiders say it's designed to stop key figures in her top team from jumping ship to Reform UK. And as we already said, I'll say it again, happy International Women's Day, a day to celebrate the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women around the world. But, beyond the celebration, does this day actually make any difference, and are things getting better or worse for women? I'm Dawn Neeson and this is The Weekend. Hello, good to see you. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday out there. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I love talking to you on the weekend shows, and that's what this show is all about. So get in touch. Let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today, that special relationship, what Donald Trump has had to say about our Prime Minister overnight, what our previous Prime Minister, Tony Blair, has had to say about him overnight. We're talking to a Labour MP about what's going on there. And also, obviously, it is International Women's Day, and I'm curious to see what you feel about it. Do you think it's worthwhile? And lots of you are already asking, what about International Men's Day? And lots of women are going, well, it's that every day, isn't it? So it's a heated debate. We'll be having that one later on. But let me know what you're thinking about all these subjects at gbnews.com/yoursay, or scan the Tom Harwood QR code, as I call it, down there, because he can point it there accurately, and I never can. But let us know what you're thinking. Get in touch. Let's have a natter. It's a Sunday afternoon. You've got nowhere to go. Pretty miserable out. Stay and keep me company. All of that coming up after the news headlines with Bethany Halsey.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 1:03. President Donald Trump has criticised Sir Keir Starmer's support for the US against Iran, accusing him of seeking to join wars that had already been won. On Truth Social, Donald Trump also called the UK our once great ally. Former Prime Minister Tony Blair says the government should have backed America from the very beginning, describing the US as an indispensable ally. And in the last few moments, 2 further US aircraft have landed at RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire, and the UK is preparing to deploy one of its 2 aircraft carriers, HMS Prince of Wales, to the Middle East. But the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philps says Sir Keir failed in his duty by not acting sooner.
All that we were being asked to do was let the Americans use our bases, and I think we could quite easily have done that, and we've deeply upset them as a result by refusing, and that has undermined the special relationship, which we rely on. We rely on it for trade, we rely on it for commerce, and critically, we rely on it for defence and security. He failed to move those ships into the Mediterranean or the Gulf, where they could have protected Cyprus. They could have protected the Gulf states, and it's a dereliction of duty that Keir Starmer failed to move those ships 3 weeks ago when he had the chance.
Meanwhile, the UN says hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced by the conflict and nearly 400 killed in Lebanon, including more than 80 children. Iran is continuing to fire missiles and drones into neighbouring countries. Israel, Kuwait and the UAE all say they've been intercepting rocket fire this morning. A government building in Kuwait was set alight after being hit by debris from a drone, and an oil storage facility at the airport was also hit. 2 Kuwaiti Interior Ministry officers have been killed. The King will stress the importance of traditional alliances and international friendships at a time of increasing pressures of conflict. In his Commonwealth Day message, he'll tell member countries that by working together, the institution can remain a force for good. A service will be held at Westminster Abbey tomorrow. Universities that fail to prevent extremism will face sanctions or could be shut down. The Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, also says Vice-Chancellors will be issued guidance on how to vet external speakers to make sure they don't support terrorism. The Office for Student Watchdog will be monitoring universities and given powers to intervene. And wreaths have been laid at the National COVID Memorial Wall 6 years since the coronavirus pandemic began. Commemorations are being held across the UK today. It comes after the final public hearings into the COVID-19 inquiry were held last week. At least 248,000 people in the UK have died of COVID. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Thank you very much, Bethany. And we're already off, aren't we? Good to hear it as well. Women's Day, that's the one I thought it'd get you all going. Martika's mum, that's an interesting name. Hello, Martika, says, oh, really, Dawn? Happy Women's Day to the boys out there. Was that necessary? Well, yes, it was, because without us lot, the boys wouldn't be here, would they? So, to be honest with you, they should be blooming grateful. So, yes, it was necessary. And hello, Tilly, and hello, Paula, and hello, everybody else that's tuning in. Grateful for your company. Do keep them messages coming in. OK, now let's get stuck into the serious stuff of the day, shall we? In the last few minutes, 2 further US military planes have landed Gloucestershire after Starmer allowed the US to use UK as a base for defensive action. Remember, defensive action, that was legal, wasn't it? Let's go to RAF Fairford, where 2 US aircraft have just landed. GBNews national reporter Jack Carson is there for us. Jack.
Thank you very much. Well, Dawn, these are 2 US Air Force C-17s. They are heavy transport planes. We believe that they are transporting and carrying ammunition and equipment required for bombing runs on Iran. So a lot of what will fall on Iran in the next couple of weeks is on that airfield, having just arrived. One of those C-17s had come down from Prestwick in Scotland. That's because of fog here earlier this morning. It had to divert elsewhere, but it has now made its way back to Fairford, and one of the other ones had set off from the Joint Base Maguire, landing after leaving at 1:20 Eastern Time. So a long journey for that, but it just shows you that the steps that the United States are taking in Iran and over Iran are not ceasing. They are not looking for negotiations or the diplomatic route as many in the United Kingdom's government has suggested would be a way forward. They're continuing what their plan was, which is what Donald Trump, the President of the United States, says is his wish, which is to essentially not have any negotiations, essentially have negotiations become irrelevant and destroy what he sees as potential leaders and the military in Iran. Within that, of course, the United Kingdom also increasing its military capabilities, with looking to improve its naval capabilities, specifically with HMS Prince of Wales and HMS Dragon as well being deployed to the region. But for an aircraft carrier as the Prince of Wales is, with its preparedness being made possibly to be deployed in the next 5 days, the Ministry of Defence say it's always kind of as a state of readiness. It is a sense from the US point of view that it's almost a little bit too late. But I'll just step step out the way because we are getting this C5 heavy transport plane taking off now from RAF Fairford. This is a C5 Galaxy. It is the biggest military transport plane in NATO, and essentially it is flying ammunition in and out of RAF Fairford for the B1s. Of course, those 4 B1 bombers, if you can hear me over the noise of the aircraft, those 4 B1 bombers that, of course, had landed at RAF Fairford in the past 48 hours, that is carrying equipment for them. Now, these are all part of the defensive strategic operations that are being allowed by the United Kingdom, allowing the United States to launch them from this airfield. And we know that 3 had gone over last night, unable to return here because of fog in the morning. They'd had to instead divert themselves to Germany. So we could expect those B1 bombers back here in RAF Fairford. But you can see, Dawn, this place now is a hive of activity. The United States is not giving up on its work in Iran, whether that is trying to destroy its missile capabilities or whatever else it sees as its aims in the region. We know that the Israeli Defense Force in the last 24 hours has completed a broad wave of strikes both in western and also central Iran, which they say munitions were dropped on 400 military infrastructure targets, including ballistic missile launchers and additional weapon production sites. So while the UK is happy for this airfield to be used for defensive strategic capabilities, the United States, and looking at the action that the UK is taking in its own defensive capabilities by whether it's deploying this aircraft carrier HMS Prince of Wales possibly in the next few days, whether it's deploying HMS Dragon, it's a little bit too late for the United States. And certainly that scathing attack by Donald Trump saying that you don't join a war after it's already won on the Prime Minister, it just shows you a little bit of the tension now between the relationship and that special relationship. It's clear that for Donald Trump there are other countries who have responded quicker, who have responded better, more in line with the United States aims, but the government will say that of course it doesn't necessarily need to follow everything that the US does. It doesn't need to support everything that Donald Trump does. And for the Prime Minister writing in the newspapers today, it is essentially a sense of being sensible about this. It is not a sense of playing political games. It's about seriousness when dealing with this conflict and, of course, protecting British assets, but also British citizens who are still out in the Gulf region.
Indeed. Thank you very much. That's GB News national reporter Jack Carson doing a sterling job for us there on the comings and goings of the planes are now allowed to use RAF bases after Keir Starmer sat on the fence a little bit about it, didn't he? OK, and you do notice the language Keir Starmer is using is still very, very legally carefully couched, isn't it? Defensive purposes only. OK, well, joining me now is a Labour MP, a brave one, actually, because there's a lot of questions you want to ask the Labour Party at the moment, aren't there? And it is the MP for Bournemouth East, Tom Hayes. Tom, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate your time and your company. Now, it hasn't been a good night, it has to be said, for your leader, for Keir Starmer. We've had Donald Trump having a go at him, saying, well, yeah, gee, thanks for sending a couple of boats over, but we don't need you. And the former Labour MP, Tony Blair, saying, you should have done something earlier. It is your job to support your allies. What do you make of all this?
Well, the worst thing about the tweet that Donald Trump put out was that he said that there was already victory achieved. I don't know what victory looks like in this conflict, because the president says that the war could be completed within 4 to 6 weeks. But is it about regime change from the skies? Is it a flourishing of democracy? Is it about the liberation of the Iranian people? Is it about peace and stability in the Middle East? We just don't know. So why on earth would the Prime Minister of our great country commit this country to a conflict with changing goals that change by the day, plans that change by the week? It doesn't make any sense. And frankly, there are 2 points of view around what the UK should do in relation to this conflict. The first is you blindly follow the Americans into any and every conflict they want to drag the British into. Or alternatively, you say about the Americans, they're wrong on every single front. Don't listen to them, just ignore them. What the Prime Minister's doing is leading by putting ourselves squarely in the centre there, which is to look at the situation, to review why British forces and British military power and British use of bases might be needed, to assess what the impact would be in our economy, our people, our cost of living, and then to make your mind up. And I think what you want is a calm, level-headed Prime Minister who is going to do just that, who's going to judiciously use British military resources. He's going to be very clear about standing up for international law, which is in our national interest, because it is about shared values and shared goals and more predictability in international affairs so that our economy can run more smoothly, we can have more trade routes opened up, we can grow our income, and we can tackle the cost of living crisis that we inherited. I think what you've got here is a Prime Minister who is very carefully looking at the situation and refusing to see Britain dragged into something where the goals are changing and where you might see the President having to double down because it ultimately may not be going the way that he wants.
Tom, that was a remarkably good speech on behalf of the Labour Party there. Fair dues to you for standing up for
the country.
For Keir Starmer. The thing is, talking of the country, it was British bases that were being attacked. There was an attack on Bahrain Saturday before last, the attack on Cyprus. This isn't blindly following America in. We're not putting boots on the ground. We're not even bombing anyone. We were asked simply to allow planes to refuel, and British bases, British targets have been attacked. This isn't blindly following America. This is, Keir Starmer keeps reminding us, putting British citizens and British Army serving personnel first. That doesn't appear to be happening. It's taken over a week.
Well, two really important points there. The first is around what would the commitment of British bases for an offensive mission of choice by the Americans have meant. Britain is unique in this area for having such bases. If the British had committed, it would have meant that we were committed to an offensive operation. And as the President continues to fail to articulate what the goals of this operation are, we don't know what victory looks like. And I think we're going to see the Americans double down on these military operations. You were just hearing from your reporter at the RAF base about how they keep on sending military resources over to the Gulf. So why on earth would Britain commit to a mission where the goals are changing and we may have to be dragged into something more offensive?
We were dragged in. Tom, we were dragged in any case, but I mean, we could keep going over that ground because we're never going to agree on that one. We were dragged in whether we liked it or not. Tom, just move on to what your former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, has said. You know, when it comes to an ally that is an indispensable cornerstone of your security, you'd better show up. They were just asking to use our bases for refuelling. What would you say to Tony Blair?
Well, I'd say, first of all, thank you for leading a government, which meant I could become an MP. If it hadn't been for Labour investing in schools and hospitals, I wouldn't be here today. But on the question of foreign policy, I respectfully disagree, because Iraq is a war that we've learned lessons from. You do not go into a conflict when you're not sure about the goals of the operation. You may be able to achieve some military success in the beginning, but ultimately you risk being kept in a country for a very long time. And I think we should learn all of the lessons we possibly can from British and American involvement in the Middle East. Ultimately, Dawn, what I want to do is to keep on seeing the cost of living coming down. The government have said that energy bills will fall by £117 in April and that they will stay down for the 3 months that follow. We need to contain this conflict. We need to shorten it so that we aren't seeing prices go at the pump and prices aren't going up on our bills, because when we bring down our bills, we improve people's quality of life. And ultimately, that's what everybody is here for in Parliament.
Well, absolutely, of course. And talking of bringing things back home, we saw marches on the street yesterday supporting a regime that has declared death to the West, death to the United Kingdom. Are you going to ban those marches in future?
Well, I would absolutely never be going on one of those marches. As a gay man, I know full well that if I was living in Iran under the supreme leader, I would have been hanging from a crane. This is an Iranian regime which has repressed and murdered thousands of its own citizens. We don't know how many, because ultimately they have a media blackout which stops the world from being able to see. I don't think people should be going on those marches at all. If people are exercising their democratic right to do that, that is up to them. But ultimately, they are standing in the way of all the people who were repressed by that Iranian regime. And I don't shed any tears for the death of the supreme leader.
OK, so why do we still allow them to have an office in the Islamic Centre of England? That's still open.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Why do we still allow Iran and the IRGC to have an office in the Islamic Centre of England in West London? That is still open. We still haven't even prescribed the Islamic Revolutionary Guard in this country yet. Why not?
Are you talking about the Iranian embassy in London?
No, I'm not talking about the Iranian embassy. I'm talking about the office of the Ayatollah and the IRGC in the Islamic Centre of England, and that is in West London, and that is still open. It's basically the Ayatollah's office. That is still open, and we still have not proscribed the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Why?
Well, I would agree with you that the Guard is a terrorist organisation, and the UK is taking all steps against Iran. We've already foiled 20 terrorist plot attempts here in the UK. We've put £600 million extra into MI6, MI5 and GCHQ just to make sure that we're bumping up our security. And when you look across our wider defence capabilities, we're seeing an extra £13 billion committed by the government. But the point that you're trying to get at here, Dawn, is around our insecurity. The UK has been left exposed in our defence capabilities, our energy capabilities, and our economic foundations. We need to be able to boost our government's finances. We've already seen the buffer grow by significant billions to 23 billion at the spring statement. We have to keep investing in our clean, homegrown energy, because ultimately we can't be left to the mercy of petro dictators. And we have to keep on making sure that our defence capabilities are growing in quantity, but also that we're investing our new defence expenditure, £13 billion, on the capabilities that we actually need. We need to learn the lessons of Iraq, which is not to follow America into wars without clear goals. We also need to learn the lessons of President Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine, which is to invest in the right defence capabilities. And the brave Ukrainian people who are standing up to Russia and who are showing the weapons of the future like drones, we have to be buying those in great number.
Tom, we have run out of time, unfortunately. I just want to ask you one very quick final question. Britain's ballooning welfare bill is rising by £18 billion this year alone. That is the equivalent of 15 warships. We don't appear to have any that... Well, we've got a couple and they're still in dock at the moment. But is it time to spend more on defence, less on that welfare bill?
Two quick points. One, we have to bring down welfare spending. I agree with you. We have to do that in a managed way which protects people but also makes the government financially sustainable. The second point that you're making there is that we have to be more financially sustainable as a government. It is being bizarre and bonkers that we are spending more on the repayment of debt interest than we are in total the Ministries of Justice, the Ministries of Defence and the Home Office. That is the inheritance that we had. We have to sort that out, because unless we've got a strong financial basis, which we are increasingly seeing with borrowing coming down and our headroom increasing to 23 billion, we are going to be more exposed in an insecure world. Labour in government have got a plan. We are turning a corner and we need to keep an eye on this crisis and contain it and reduce its length as quickly as possible.
OK, Tom, thank you so much. That's the Labour MP for Bournemouth East there, Tom Hayes. Thank you very much. As always, let me know what you think about that one. OK, now it's time for the Great British Giveaways. We do good news on this show as well. Biggest prize of the year today. It's a large amount of money and a camper van. Here's all the details.
It's a prize package worth over £92,000, and it could be all yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. There's a totally tax-free £25,000 in cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like this year. Plus, you'll also get to drive away in a brand new Benevan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comes fully loaded with everything you'd expect. You can even drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, it comfortably sleeps 4 people. Make sure you don't miss out on the biggest prize package of the year so far. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Now, we've done the Labour side, so let's talk about the Conservatives. Is Kemi Badenoch on defection watch? The Conservative leader is reportedly eyeing her first major reshuffle. I'll get all the latest on that one next, or that much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very soon.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Nathan. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday out there. Now, let's talk about the Conservative Party. Kemi Badenoch is reportedly plotting a major cabinet reshuffle in order to prevent rising star Katie Lamb from defecting to Reform. Frontbenchers, including Shadow Chancellor Sir Mel Stride, Dame Priti Patel and Chris Philp, are all rumoured to be at risk amid the Tory leader's drive to remove dead wood. Interesting. They're the only ones you've heard of, though, aren't they? Joining me now is Assistant Content Editor at The Spectator, Will Atkinson. Will, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining me. So, Kemi plots reshuffle to stop her rising star defecting to Reform. What on earth is going on here?
Well, Katie Lamb's talents had been obvious long before she even made it into Parliament. I remember writing a report on her selection, and it was obvious that she stood head and shoulders above the rest of the Tory candidates that had so far been selected. She was president of the Cambridge Union. She worked at Goldman Sachs. She was a SPAD in both Number 10 and at the Home Office. She's written musicals that have been on, I think not necessarily Broadway, but just off Broadway in her spare time. So she's a very impressive individual, and it's been clear since she got into Parliament that she is far and away the most talented in the next generation of Tories. She made a very eloquent speech about grooming gangs, for example, last year that went viral. And I think, having seen at last year's local elections that all of the wards in her constituency went to Reform, and Reform having made it very clear that she's the top of their defections list, I think there are a few in Tory HQ who are now rather nervous about Lamb's intentions. Now, I would never want to sort of speak on her behalf, as impressive as she is. But I think this is certainly overdue if, as we are to believe, somebody like Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp, and indeed Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel are soon to be demoted in Katie's place. I think that would be a very good decision, not only because each of them in their own way is overly associated with the previous government and quite frankly are dead wood, but because keeping Katie in the tent is one of the few ways that the Conservative Party can prove that it's still a viable political force. Because if people like Katie were going, it would open the floodgates to other MPs like, say, Jack Rankin, Nick Timothy, etc., to also go over, and it would prove that, quite frankly, the Conservative Party was a busted flush.
Now, how does this work out for Kemi? Do you think it will make her more respected? I mean, she's getting some good positive reaction from how she's behaving in the House at PMQs at the moment. Polls are fairly favourable to her personally. She's getting rid of the dead wood and promoting youngsters that many of us have never heard of to appeal to young voters. But can the Conservative Party actually get the message across to young voters, or is it too late?
Well, one of the assets that Lamb is seen as having, according to this report at least, is that she has a very good social media game. She's very active over everything from Twitter to Instagram. And she's one of the party's best speakers. I mean, you can say that, Mel Stride and Priti Patel, for whatever their merits as individual politicians, are not only overly associated with the previous government, but have barely done anything in the last, 18 months or so since they've been appointed. Somebody like Katie has managed to cut through, despite being, in a relatively junior role or a backbencher for all of that time. Unfortunately, I think the Conservative Party, if they're sort of specifically aiming to appeal to younger voters, we have to realise that amongst my generation, I'm 26, the Conservative Party's brand is dead. Most of us sort of came of political age knowing nothing but the Conservatives, and my generation blame them for all manner of sins. If you're on the left, you're attracted to Zach Balansky, whose social media game is not only sort of very good, but is at least eloquent in articulating the various grievances we have over everything from, the housing crisis to tuition fees. Or if you're on the right, you blame people like Priti Patel for the unprecedented surge in immigration over which she presided as Home Secretary. And so if you're that exercised by the issue of immigration, why wouldn't you go to reform? Now, at least with somebody like Katie, they can say, well, I'm young, I understand the issues that you're facing, I too have a student loan, I do, worried about getting on the property ladder, etc. And I wasn't part of that dumpster fire that represented the last sort of 14 years of Tory government. Unfortunately for that is, of course, as soon as you start promoting young lions like this and suggesting that those Tories who are too associated with the previous government and haven't really cut through in the last 18 months might not be up to snuff, people will start to say, well, the fish rots from the head. And it strikes me that unless you're going to bring in another sort of discredited figure from the previous Tory government, like, say, James Cleverly, Katie Lamb is the most obvious person to replace Kemi Badenoch as Tory leader if the Tories continue to be in both the polling and electoral doldrums. So Kemi might certainly have to be careful what she wishes for if she promotes Katie Lamb in this, possible reshuffle.
Interesting. Just quickly, Will, could you see her leading the Conservative Party eventually?
Oh, definitely. I wrote immediately after the last election that the Tories should consider having a leader from the 2024 intake. Ruth Davidson, for example, when she became leader of the Scottish Conservatives, had only just been elected by an MSP. And I thought that was one of the obvious ways in which the Conservatives could show they are a new party, a changed party. They've understood why the electorate sort of turfed them out. And I think, I think Katie is the obvious replacement for Kemi. I hope, I'm not sure that'll do her any good by me sort of saying that out loud, but, that is the dynamic underlying all of this.
OK, Will, thank you so much for joining us. It's Assistant Content Editor at The Spectator, Will Atkinson, who's only 26. Oh, my God, that's depressing. Thank you very much, Will. OK, now, a Conservative Party spokesman said last night, denied the claims of reforms within the party and accusations of impending defections. Well, there you go, make of that. I'm Dawn Neeson with GBNews. Plenty more coming up on today's show, but first it's time for the news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB newsroom. President Donald Trump has again criticised Sir Keir Starmer's support for the US against Iran, accusing him of seeking to join wars that have already been won. And the former Prime Minister Tony Blair says the government should have backed America from the very beginning. Meanwhile, the UN says hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced by the conflict in the Middle East and nearly 400 killed in Lebanon, including 80 children. The King will stress the importance of international friendships at a time of increasing pressures of conflict in his Commonwealth Day message tomorrow. The Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson says universities that fail to prevent extremism will face sanctions and could be shut down. And wreaths have been laid at the National COVID Memorial Wall 6 years since the coronavirus pandemic began. You're up to date for now. More for you at 2 o'clock.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Thank you, Bethany. Loads more coming up on today's show. Britain may face another energy shock, with experts warning gas supplies could last only 2 days as Middle East supply dwindles. We get the latest on that somewhat scary story. Next, all of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is a GB News, a Britain's news channel. I'll see you very soon.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, for most of us today, we are stuck under the cloud with some further spits and spots of rain. But for Scotland and Northern Ireland, we will hang on to some sunshine here. So at the moment, we do have high pressure in charge, but plenty of old weather fronts around. And these are really going to be a focus of some cloud and some outbreaks of rain. So for much of England and Wales, a rather dull afternoon to come. The cloud may thin at times, but really the best of the sunshine today will be across parts of Scotland and eastern parts of Northern Ireland. And where we do see the sunshine, it won't feel too bad at all for the time of year. And even under the cloud, we will still see highs reaching double figures. So as we do end the afternoon, again, the best of the sunshine will be focused across parts of Scotland, especially eastern and southern parts of the country, where further west we will see this band of cloud and rain approach the country. Sunshine already at a premium at this stage across Northern Ireland, but still some late spells of sunshine here. But really for much of England and Wales, it's going to be a grey end to the day. Main risk of rain really across parts of southwest England, Wales and northern England. And really little changes as we go throughout the course of the evening and night. A lot of cloud around, the cloud lowering in places to give some mist and murk, and also thick enough to produce some outbreaks of rain. Maybe some more persistent rain arriving across parts of Scotland as the night goes on. But the cloud cover will help to act like a blanket once again, and for most of us it will be a fairly mild night to come. But it will give us a grey start to Monday. Sunshine's really going to be at premium during the morning. But I'm hopeful across England and Wales we should start to see the cloud break up tomorrow. So hopefully some sunshine breaking through here. But still plenty of cloud around, and that cloud will be thick enough in places to produce some spits and spots of rain. But for most of us, again, another fairly mild day. If we do see some sunshine down towards the southeast, we could see highs here reaching 16 or 17 degrees.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you for your company this Sunday lunchtime. OK, now, a scary headline in the papers today. New data has revealed that Britain has just 2 days of gas stored up, sparking fears of a shortage crisis. Well, it's certainly to do with me. The conflict in the Middle East has led to the closure of the world's largest natural gas facility in Qatar, evidently, and resulted in Iran blocking the Strait of Hormuz, although that seems to vary on a daily basis. Obviously, it's one of the key shipping channels, and most of the oil goes through there. The price of gas having increased more than the rest of Europe, experts are warned of higher energy bills for British households. Right, that's a lot of information there. So joining me to delve down into it is the head of policy at the Global Warming Policy Foundation, Harry Wilkinson. Harry, now explain, I just said in the break, explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Make it crisp, sexy and full of impact. What is going on? Are we all be freezing cold in 2 days' time?
Well, I think the important thing, first of all, is to say we're not going to be freezing cold in 2 days. The gas that we're using now was bought many months ago.
Right.
And so we're using that gas now. The real concern is potentially next winter, when we're scrambling amongst other European countries trying to get gas that potentially isn't there. We've seen what's happened in Qatar, then closed LNG production at the present moment. So there could be a real crunch coming down the line. And so with only 2 days of reserve, that doesn't give us much protection in such a scenario. But I think the really important thing that I want to emphasise to your viewers is that we are in a really vulnerable situation now because of the political decisions that have been taken over successive governments. We've created an incredibly hostile environment for our North Sea domestic energy production, and that has left us vulnerable. People who don't like gas, who are massively pro-net zero, say, well, it doesn't matter, it's declining anyway, but every cubic feet that we can get here is money that can be raised for HMRC. It's jobs that can be saved for people in the northeast of Scotland. And of course, we have to remember it's not an international gas price. We have regional gas markets, and that pipeline gas that we can get from the North Sea, that we can get from Norway, is normally considerably cheaper than LNG that we might have to rely on when supplies are short. That LNG price goes up massively. It looks like it will go up massively next winter, and that will all be because we didn't make adequate preparations. We taxed the industry to death, and now our industry is in complete decline. We're losing many, many jobs every day, whereas in Norway, production has actually been quite robust.
This is what I do not understand. It's like, why are we doing this when literally almost every other country around the world is doing the opposite at the moment? You know, it's globally very, very unstable at the moment. We need to be self-sufficient, a lot more than we are at the moment, but we just seem to be ignoring that.
It's just not serious to be continuing with net zero at a time of massive geopolitical instability. Our hard power comes from energy, cheap, abundant energy that is reliable, that we can use. Now, the boss of Centrica has actually said that he expects in 2030 electricity prices could be higher than at the Ukraine 2022 peak.
Wow.
Even if wholesale gas prices were to come down considerably, perhaps as low as zero. The point is that all the costs that we're experiencing in electricity are coming from policy costs. They're coming from decisions taken by Ed Miliband and his predecessors. So we are locking ourselves in under a net zero straitjacket to an approach that guarantees high electricity prices. Now, the contracts that he signed with renewable energy, offshore wind primarily, has been set at such a high level that we can't expect electricity prices to fall. They've been set at such a high level that, you know, we're just going to be facing relentless rises. And those are for 20 years, those contracts. So there's very little prospect of getting those prices down.
People are struggling already. Many people watching and listening today will now be even more worried than they were beforehand. It's surely, given where we are at the moment with what's going on in the Middle East, even Ed Miliband must be reconsidering the stance we have on green energy in this country.
I certainly hope he is. And the thing that should make that most clear to him is the livelihoods that are being destroyed in cement, in steel, in advanced manufacturing capabilities, in our energy industries in the North Sea. These are vital jobs, high-paid, high-skilled jobs, and they're absolutely fundamental to our prosperity as a country. So to be watching these jobs being lost, to be doing nothing, to be sticking on a plan that's pushing energy prices up higher and higher is a reckless approach. It's an ideological approach, and it's one that he needs to change as soon as possible.
And Harry, just quickly and funny, how much do we rely at the moment on foreign countries for the energy in this country?
So it's now, I believe, over half of the oil and gas that we're using is coming from abroad, and that's despite the fact that we have significant resources in the North Sea. We also have a completely untapped technology in shale gas. Now, we don't know exactly how much that yield. It might not be very much, but it might be extraordinary quantities of primarily gas that would be so important with the situation that we're facing at the present moment. Now, just to say no to a whole technology because of scaremongering by activists that have been, in some cases, paid by our adversaries in Russia who don't want to see Britain's energy security improve. This is incredibly dangerous. Now, all people are asking to do is to risk their own money, not taxpayers' money, not the government's money, their own money in seeing if they can get gas out the ground. But we say we're not even allowed to do that. In the North Sea, we say we're going to tax you 67%. We've seen companies in the North Sea paying even over 100% marginal tax rates. How on earth can businesses that are so important to our country's prosperity survive when they're facing such a hostile landscape?
Oh, Harry, thank you so much. Well, that hasn't really cheered me up. I'm not sure about you. That is our Harry Wilkinson there, who is Head of Policy at the Global Warming Policy Foundation. Harry, thank you very much for coming in and explaining it, although it wasn't, I have to say, very reassuring, was it? OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GBNews. There's lots more coming up on today's show. Aidan McGee will be here next with all the latest sports news, and that can be a bit depressing as well, to be honest with you. But if you are in search of some holiday sun, here's a forecast for those top European destinations for you. Thank you.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, it's a mixed picture across Europe. Rain in places, but also some showers, sunnier across Greece. So some strong winds across Madeira and the Canary Islands with some outbreaks of rain, more so across much of Portugal through Monday. Showers heavy at times across much of the Mediterranean, but drier across Greece. That's where we'll see some sunny spells. And that theme continues really through the week. Best of the sunshine across Greece, highs of up to 17 to 19.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
soft. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn. Need some even teeth back in, Dawn. OK, I'm getting excited because it's time to talk about something I do a little tiny weeny bit about, unlike the energy one we were doing earlier on. It's sport, and that means Aidan McGee is here in the studio with us. Aidan.
Very good afternoon to you, Dawn. Only one place to start, and that's Rugby Union, the Six Nations. And England just imploding yesterday in Italy. Now, goodness me, I've never known anything like this because they played each other 32 times before. Italy, just to put it in some kind of context, are always failing in this event. Not so much the last couple of years because Wales have been even worse, which is a bit of a surprise, but they joined us as the sixth nation in, I think, about 2000, and for years and years and years, normally you expect these teams to get better, and there were no signs of it. Now that's 2 wins for them in this tournament. They beat Scotland on opening night, and England go to Rome yesterday. They beat them 32 times out of 32 before yesterday, and they came a cropper big time yesterday, 23-18. They were winning 18-10 at one time, England, as well. And naturally, while we say congratulations to Italy on an incredible achievement, what next for England? Because this afternoon, Bill Sweeney, the RFU chief exec, has given the dreaded vote of confidence to Steve Borthwick, the coach. That's after Steve Borthwick had a great year between February of last year and February of this year, but everything's gone wrong. The last 3 defeats have really posed some questions over his stewardship. Let's hear from him now and see what he had to say when he's put under pressure yesterday after that defeat to Italy.
The team's growth over the last period of time, certainly the last 12 months prior to this, has been very, very strong. And I think you can see the vision of where the team is going to be, and you see the nature of the players coming through. Right now, again, this is a tough period. What we'll do is, as with every one of these experiences, is learn from it and make sure that we are a stronger team going forward.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you know, it's all about the big games, isn't it? I mean, they responded to defeat against Scotland a few weeks ago by being pulverised at home to Ireland. They responded to that by going and suffering probably their most embarrassing defeat in recent times. Scotland, in contrast, absolutely fantastic yesterday. France, I still think they're going to win this event, but it's been blown wide open now by the fact that Scotland beat them by 50 points to 40. What was crucial last night, though, was that France ran in a couple of late tries when it didn't matter, except it did matter because they got a bonus point, and that means everything is to play for next week. Ireland in contention, Scotland as well. Wales, all right, they're not doing well at the moment, but I mean, it is cyclical. They could produce a result on the last day, you never know. But I wouldn't even back against England in France, you know, next week in Paris. So let's see what happens. We're looking forward to it.
There's always optimism.
There is.
Always optimism.
There is. In rugby at the moment, because it's being shown that everyone can beat each other.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Is it because Italy have suddenly got very good, though?
Yes, I do. I think
because there's always that, isn't it? England are terrible, but it's who you're playing might suddenly...
It's taken its time. It's taken time, and everyone said, why can't we go back to how it was, the 5 nations from 6 nations? But at last, Italy are showing that they're worthy of being at the party. And as we always say on this desk, competition is everything in sport.
It really is. It's competition is everything in life as well. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
Yeah, just quickly, the F1 was this morning in Australia. That was George Russell won ahead of Kimi Antonelli. Lewis Hamilton finishing down in 4th in the Ferrari. Interesting because it's a street course and it's the opening night of the season as well. And it just shows the depth of British drivers. We've always been talking about Lewis Hamilton and whether he's going to come back with Ferrari. It hasn't happened quite just yet. But last season as well, Lando Norris kind of came from nowhere to win the Drivers' Championship. And we're seeing George Russell proving his credentials early on, so congratulations to him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just quickly and finally, the magic of the FA Cup weekend staggers on?
Yeah, it does indeed. Well, we've got... we had Man City getting through yesterday, Mansfield against Arsenal. Mansfield gave them a really good go before Eberieze and Max Dowman got them out of trouble. And last night, it was Wrexham against Chelsea. Some VAR calls intervening to save Chelsea there, but they won 4-2 in the end.
Yeah, I know Wrexham looked slightly stunned. It's like VAR, oh my God, it's like welcome to our world.
I'm off to watch QPR get thrashed by Middlesbrough Middlesbrough in about 5 minutes' time.
Oh, OK. Well, the very best of luck. Aidan McGee, thank you so much, as always. Thank you for joining us today. And let us know about what you're thinking about the sport, whether you are disappointed by England, whether you're cheering your football side on, or whether you were watching the Grand Prix all night. We are here for you. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved. Now, there is absolutely loads more coming up on today's show, so you don't want to move a muscle. It is a Sunday afternoon. I do appreciate that. It has to be said. But let's take a look before we go to all of that, including Women's Day. Don't ever forget Women's Day. I know you won't. We're having a debate about that one, and you can get involved. gbnews.com/your say. Join in the conversation. All of that coming up after a quick look at your latest weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, the week ahead, we start off with plenty of cloud around, then it turns unsettled during the middle part of the week before something a little bit colder heads our way as we head towards next weekend. But at the moment, we still got high pressure in charge, but still plenty of old weather fronts around, and these are really going to be a focus of cloud and outbreaks of rain across many parts of the UK. So as we end Sunday, plenty of cloud around, still some clear spells initially across the far north of Scotland, but by the course of the night, most of us seeing plenty of cloud, and that cloud will lower at times to produce some mist and murk, and also be thick enough to produce some outbreaks of rain, especially across more western and northern parts of the country. But it will act like a blanket, so most of us, we'll start Monday off on a fairly mild note, but it will come with plenty of cloud and again some mist and murk around. So as we start Monday morning across southwest England and Wales, that cloud will still be thick enough in places to produce some spots of rain. A very similar story for northern England and Scotland too. Maybe a few glimmers of sunshine for eastern parts of Northern Ireland and also maybe around the Moray Firth area. But for most of us, we do, as I mentioned, start off on a rather overcast note. But I'm hopeful as we go through the course of the day, especially across eastern parts of England, that cloud will begin to break up, allowing some spells of sunshine here. But elsewhere, generally still plenty of cloud around as we go into the afternoon, and again the risk of some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, especially across more western parts. But where we do see any sunshine break through, especially down towards East Anglia, we could see highs here reaching around 16 or 17 degrees. Very little changes as we move into the evening hours, still plenty of cloud around, a few breaks from time to time, and then later on we start to see this next weather front begin to move in, bringing in a more persistent spell of rain. And as we move towards the middle part of the week, further spells of rain coming in from the west, with temperatures for most of us around average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Everything you need to enjoy a super summer could be on us this year, as you could drive away with this very latest Benivan 4-berth camper van. This camper van is fully equipped with its own kitchen, bathroom, dinette and plenty of storage. We'll also get your summer sorted with a further £25,000 in tax-free cash that you could spend however you like. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text Prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text Bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here at GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless, and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, it's 2 o'clock on Sunday the 8th of March and this is the weekend on GB News. Thank you so much for your company. Big hour coming up for you. A further 2 American aircraft landed at RAF Fairford. This comes as Donald Trump refused support from the Prime Minister and launched a scathing attack on the United Kingdom. Is that UK-US special relationship under threat though?
Yeah, Donald Trump certainly not holding back when it comes to his comments on how he believes the United Kingdom and the Prime Minister have acted in response to his attacks on Iran. The UK looking to increase naval capabilities and giving the United States access to their bases like here in RAF Fairford for what are called strategic defence operations. I'll have more as 2 C-17s have landed here this afternoon looking to support more bombing raids in Iran.
Meanwhile, former Prime Minister Tony Blair has also chimed in, condemning Sir Keir Starmer over his decision not to support American strikes on Iran from the start. Should the Prime Minister listen to Blair? And Britain could be, should King Charles delay his planned visit to the United States as tensions grow between Trump and Starmer? Whitehall sources say there's been a last-minute wobble over the signing off of that trip. And happy International Women's Day, a day to celebrate the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women around the world. But beyond the celebration, does the day actually make any difference? And ladies, is it getting any better for us? I'm Dawn Newsom, this is The Weekend. So, hello, thank you so much for your company on a Sunday lunchtime. Lots of you have been getting in touch about the debate, the interview we're doing about the energy supplies in this country and about how little gas we may have because of what's happening in the Middle East. Lots of you praising the lovely Harry we had on, saying he made it very simple. And I think with such a complicated subject and with so many people with agendas, it's always nice just to have someone that cuts through and just gives you the basics. And that's what we're here about. So get in touch, let me know your thoughts on all of these stories we're discussing today at gbnews.com/your say. We have got our King Charles going over to America, should it be happening, and of course International Women's Day. I might be raising a glass of fizzy pink stuff because that's what us girls are meant to drink, isn't it, later on? Anyways, let me know your thoughts on all the stuff. gbnews.com/your say, or scan the QR code thingy on your screens now. Join in that conversation. But before we get stuck into all of those stories, let's get the news headlines from the very lovely Bethany Elsie.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 2:02. President Donald Trump has again criticised Sir Keir Starmer's support for the US against Iran, accusing him of seeking to join wars that have already been won. On Truth Social, Donald Trump called the UK our once great ally. The former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, says the government should have backed America from the very beginning, describing the US as an indispensable ally. 2 further US aircraft have landed at RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire this afternoon, and the UK is preparing to deploy one of its 2 aircraft carriers, HMS Prince of Wales, to the Middle East. But the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philps says Sir Keir has failed in his duty by not acting sooner.
All that we were being asked to do was let the Americans use our bases, and I think we could quite easily have done that, and we've deeply upset them as a result by refusing, and that has undermined the special relationship which we rely on. We rely on it for trade, we rely on it for commerce, and critically, we rely on it for defence and security. He failed to move those ships into the Mediterranean or the Gulf, where they could have protected Cyprus. They could have protected the Gulf states, and it's a dereliction of duty that Keir Starmer failed to move those ships 3 weeks ago when he had the chance.
Meanwhile, the UN says hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced by the conflict and nearly 400 killed in Lebanon, including more than 80 children. Israel says 2 of its soldiers have been killed in Lebanon since the conflict with Hezbollah resumed last week. Iran is continuing to fire missiles and drones into neighbouring countries. Israel, Kuwait and the UAE all say they've been intercepting rocket fire this morning. A government building in Kuwait has been set alight after being hit by debris from a drone, and an oil storage facility at the airport has also been struck. 2 Kuwaiti Interior Ministry officers have been killed. The King will stress the importance of traditional alliances and international friendships at a time of what he describes as increasing pressures of conflict. In his Commonwealth Day message, he'll tell member countries that by working together, the institution can remain a force for good. The service will be held at Westminster Abbey tomorrow. Universities that fail to prevent extremism will face sanctions and could be shut down. The Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, also says that Vice-Chancellors will be issued guidance on how to vet external speakers to make sure they don't support terrorism. The Office for Student Watchdog will be monitoring universities and given powers to intervene. And wreaths have been laid at the National COVID Memorial Wall 6 years since the coronavirus pandemic began. Gatherings and commemorations are being held across all 4 nations of the UK. It comes after the final public hearings into the COVID-19 inquiry were held last week. You're up to date. More for you in half an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Now, before we get stuck into today's subjects, lots of you getting in touch still about the story. Britain has just 2 days of gas left. And Abigail says, Dawn, we have plenty of gas. It's all stored in Parliament. Thank you, Abigail. That did make me chuckle, I must admit. gbnews.com/say. Get those messages in. OK, now 2 further US military planes have landed at RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire after Starmer allowed the US to use UK as a base for defensive action. So let's go to RAF Fairford, where we have 2 US aircraft have just landed, and GB News national reporter Jack Carson is there for us. Jack.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Well, we, of course, saw in the last hour the takeoff of the C-5. It's one of the largest transport planes in NATO that we believe is assisting the B-1 bombers that arrived here at RAF Fairford a few days ago. They couldn't get back here this morning, having to divert to Ramstein in Germany because of heavy fog here. But it's clear, as we've seen from activity here at RAF Fairford, that the United Kingdom giving the United States permission to use this base for strategic defensive operations. They're not wasting any time in starting those operations. They're not wasting any time in ensuring they have the capability to complete those operations for what could well be the weeks to come. We saw 2 US Air Force C-17s. They are heavy transport planes land here in the past couple of hours. One of them coming from the Joint Base Maguire, leaving just after 1 a.m. Eastern Time in the United States. The other coming from Prestwick Airfield field in Scotland because of the fog here this morning, it couldn't land back here. But they are essentially, those C-17, supporting what we believe could be B-52 bombers that could well be coming to Britain soon. These C-17s are used to carry ammunition, they're used to carry equipment in order for the United States to complete its operations. And as I was saying, the United Kingdom gave the United States permission to use bases both here, RAF Fairford, the likes of Diego Garcia as well, but in terms of whether that protects the special relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom is yet to be seen. Donald Trump, of course, issuing quite a scathing attack yesterday on his social media platform Truth Social, saying to the United Kingdom in response to news of its naval capabilities possibly being increased in the region, with sending HMS Prince of Wales, the aircraft carrier, HMS Dragon as well, in response to that, saying that you don't join wars after they've already been won. But if you look at the operations that are taking place here, it's clear the United States don't necessarily believe operationally that this war has been won yet. They obviously are still looking to continue these strategic defensive attacks. We believe, according to the Ministry of Defence, that those operations would take place on trying to hinder the missile launching capabilities of Iran. Certainly Israel and the Israeli Defence Force have done a lot of work on that in a statement we got from them a few hours ago. They say in the past 24 hours they've struck more than 400 targets, which includes military infrastructure belonging to the Iranian regime, including, they say, ballistic missile launchers and additional weapon production sites. So they're certainly not letting up on their attacks in the region, and neither, it seems, are the United States. When it comes to the support that Britain can offer, in recent days the Prime Minister has pledged the Kingdom of Bahrain that they would provide air support for them. That includes Typhoons, of course, F-35 jets, air defence systems, and extra 400 personnel have all gone into Cyprus after that suffered drone attacks coming from Iran. The government has been criticised, of course, for how it has responded exactly, and with the Prince of Wales aircraft carrier looking to be deployed, the Ministry of Defence saying, well, it's always got a state of readiness, but it's being increased its preparedness, of course, to possibly be deployed in the next 5 or so days. It all comes as the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, says that this is really about seriousness now, not political gains. That really in response to the criticism he's got over the response, particularly around whether or not we should have backed America from the start. You mentioned, Dawn, the comments from former Prime Minister Sir Tony Blair saying that we should have been alongside America from the start. But speaking today, the Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper saying that it's not right necessarily that the United Kingdom unquestionably backs Donald Trump, unquestionably backs the United States of America in their actions, but letting them use RAF Fairford in this base behind me, and as we've seen, letting them scale up really their operations here, it's clear that they are trying to claw back some sense of the special relationship and keep that, because Donald Trump has been very clear that other countries, he believes, have backed the United States quicker. They've backed them and been in line with the United States, and he sees them at the moment as greater allies, seemingly, than the United Kingdom. And so that special relationship, a little bit, you would think, on the line and work to do. Of course, this base, in letting them use this base, does help that. But America have used this base for a few years now. Last year, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, came here to visit United States troops based here, so it's not the first time that RAF Fairford has been used by the United States, but certainly, as we've seen from the activity here in the past hour, in the past few days, the United States are using this base really to ramp up their own operations in Iran.
OK, thank you very much. That's GB News national reporter Jack Carson. Thank you very much for that, Jack. OK. Well, earlier on in the show, I spoke to Labour MP Tom Hayes, who said the UK doesn't need to be dragged into conflict by the US. Have a listen.
Maybe they've used them at the beginning, but...
Right, I think we've lost the sound on that for you there. Sorry about that. We will try and bring it to you later on. But in any case, joining me now is President... Can we show that now? OK, sorry, we have it ready for you now. Let's have a listen.
I think what you've got here is a Prime Minister who is very carefully looking at the situation and refusing to see Britain dragged into something where the goals are changing and where you might see the President having to double down because it ultimately may not be going the way that he wants.
OK, interesting. Joining me now is President of the Jerusalem Centre for Security and Foreign Affairs, Dr. Dan Diker. Dan, thank you so much for joining. And before we start, I've just got to say happy birthday.
Thank you. It seems today with social networks that the entire world knows when it's your birthday.
Well, and as it should do. In difficult times, we all need to celebrate the good stuff in life. Dan, lots of breaking news overnight. Donald Trump having a go at Keir Starmer's attitude to this conflict, and also a former Labour Prime Minister in Sir Tony Blair saying we should have worked closer with America. What do you make of this situation?
And look, Mr. Blair has been a dear, dear friend to the United States and to the Western Alliance, and I think that Prime Minister Starmer can learn a lot from Prime Minister Blair. Those who say that the United Kingdom doesn't want to be dragged into a war may be forgetting that the Iranian regime has dragged them into a war now for many decades, and it's just a question of whether the UK is going to muster up the strategic clarity to join the United States in what Winston Churchill and what Prime Minister Churchill, one of the greatest leaders, perhaps the greatest leader in the free world historically, has said that the world will remember this fight against the Nazis as our finest hour. And this is no different. The Iranian regime today is the Nazi regime of our time. It is a regime that has tried to assassinate 20 Brits in the last 2 years alone. It is a regime that has mass murdered 50,000 of its own people and wounded 500,000. And on International Women's Day, Dawn, this is a regime that systematically rapes every woman that is brought into Evin prison. So I don't think that it's a question of America dragging Number 10 and the British people into conflict. It's the Iranian regime that poses an existential threat to the United States and the Western Alliance. And I'll just end by saying that it was Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi who told Special Envoy Steve Witkoff that they had enough enriched uranium within weeks of creating 11 nuclear bombs. Now, just imagine that the 7/7 al-Qaeda attacks in London had nuclear warheads on them, and I don't think we need to say any more.
OK, Dan, what do you make of the fact that the UK still hasn't even prescribed the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in this country? Many other countries have, even Muslim countries have prescribed them. We still let them literally have an office in West London. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, it's a very interesting point that you make, Dawn, because I wrote that on my notebook as one of the data points to raise. I remember a number of times in the last 2 years, my colleagues and I at the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs, together with members of the House of Commons, actually brought in senior members of the Iranian opposition into the House of Commons itself. And that was the key point, is that the Foreign Office has still to designate the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as an international terrorist organization. And one really wonders why they haven't done it. The answers that I heard were that the Foreign Office prefers to maintain some sort of contact with the regime as opposed to shutting the door and following, the very aggressive collision course that the United States and, I will say, Israel has taken because they recognize the severity and the imminence of the threat. I will say that I think the case has not been made well enough on the level of the American people and perhaps the good people of the United Kingdom as to why this is an imminent threat to the Western Alliance, and no less. And as someone who has dealt with public relations, government relations for many, many years, I will say in a moment of self-criticism that both the United States, I think Israel as well, and the United Kingdom would do very well to make the case for the imminent threat that the Iranian regime makes on the people of the UK and the Western Alliance, because it is absolutely the case.
Dan, thank you so much. That's President of Jerusalem Centre for Security and Foreign Affairs, Dr. Dan Diker, on his birthday. OK, let me know what you think about what you heard Dan say there. I mean, are we embarrassing ourselves on the world stage? OK, but we've got some good news. It's time for the Great British Giveaway, and it's a really goodie. It involves a camper van and loads of money, and here's the details.
It's a prize package worth over £92,000, and it could be all yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. There's a totally tax-free £25,000 in cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like this year. Plus, you'll also get to drive away in a brand new Benevan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comes fully loaded with everything you'd expect. You can even drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, it comfortably sleeps 4 people. Make sure you don't miss out on the biggest prize package of the year so far. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's show, including should King Charles delay his planned visit to the United States as tensions grow between Trump and Starmer. Whitehall sources say there's been a last-minute wobble over the signing off of that trip. All of that and much, much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very soon.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me. I'm sorry, I'm listening to the team behind me and in my ear, and honestly, I can't repeat some of the things they're saying to me. Well, I might actually. Okay, let's move on though. Let's talk about the roles. King Charles' state visit to the US next month may be in jeopardy, as government officials have advised the trip to be delayed until tensions between President Trump and Sir Keir Starmer subside. This comes as the president slammed the Prime Minister for being no Winston Churchill after he initially blocked US forces from using UK air bases for any strikes on Iran. It's all getting very messy, isn't it? Joining me now is royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Richard, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining me. OK, so basically, should the King go to America? Is soft power going to be important here?
Soft power is extremely important, and the King and Queen should emphatically go to America, but it's a question of timing, and I do think it's perhaps propitious that no date has yet been specified officially. We know it's supposed to be at the end of April for this visit, so they do have the option of postponing it, bearing in mind this year is America's 250th anniversary, and it obviously would be desirable if it took place this year. The problem, as you know, has been, well, last year there was the King opening the Canadian Parliament after threats of Trump to take over Canada. Then there was the contretemps over Greenland, which was, or sounded pretty serious at one time. And now, of course, you've got two very opposing attitudes of the British and the American governments towards the war in Iran, and also the way it was started, whether or not there is a final plan and so forth, and the insults that have been sent about Keir Starmer. I mean, this hasn't helped. It isn't a moment where you can feel that the two leaders are speaking as one. And certainly when this state visit does take place, and it's bound to, because it is a very important part of our armory of soft power. The trade deals, I mean, the $31 billion trade deal, which was supposed to have been finalized when President Trump's on his second visit last September, that is still very much up in the air, apparently. And of course, there's the matter of the tariffs.
There is an awful lot to be sorted out, it has to be said. And the one thing you can say about the King is he will respect the office of president, even if he doesn't respect the president himself, which is the one thing that our Prime Minister doesn't appear to be able to grasp.
Well, there's absolutely no question that King Charles, when he goes, and I think, sure, it's a matter of when, he will be obviously acting as head of state on the advice of the government. That's his position. It must be constitutionally. So far as President Trump's concerned, I wouldn't dare speculate on whose behalf he speaks, but certainly it does mean that there are ups and downs, and he is so unpredictable. On the other hand, I mean, regarding the strong feelings that many have in the way the British government's behaved, and also the fact that they denied the use of bases to launch strikes on Iran, not to mention whatever view one might have of Britain's, shall I say, defence posture at the moment. I mean, all of this is a very difficult period. I mean, Anglo-American relations have had problems before. Remember Suez, and that was the absolute nadir when America put a stop to the Anglo-French operation. But yet it's interesting there that there was a state visit a year later, by Queen Elizabeth, which helped to smooth relations which did return to normal because they are so mutually important.
And just very quickly and finally, Richard, obviously Prince William is also due to go to America in July because it's the World Cup. Now, that's not a movable date. That is going to happen, we assume.
Yes, it's going to happen, and it will, of course, coincide with the 250th anniversary celebration. You can imagine what President Trump, who loves spectacle, is going to make of that, and it would undoubtedly be, I should say, a very important, in fact, an international moment if the Prince and Princess of Wales were able to attend the commemorations. I mean, Britain and America must, at some point, there must be some synchronicity in the way they act. And whereas there have been disagreements from time to time, whether over this, Harold Wilson wouldn't send troops to Vietnam, and there even Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher over Grenada, for example. There have been ups and downs, but the relationship it is so significant, and I think it'd be a wonderful thing if the Waleses did attend the commemorations as well, of course, as the World Cup, which William is president of the Football Association, and of course I'm sure he'll be there.
Richard, thank you so much. That's royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams there on the soft power our royal family can wield over President Trump. As we know, he loves the royal family, doesn't he? I mean, he loves Scotland, he loves playing golf, his mum was from Scotland, so it could help, couldn't it? Because it does seem that our Prime Minister doesn't actually respect the office of the president, let alone the man. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. Plenty more coming up on today's show. But I think we are about to go to... We are going to take a quick break before we get the latest news headlines.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, for most of us today, we are stuck under the cloud with some further spits and spots of rain. But for Scotland and Northern Ireland, we will hang on to some sunshine here. So at the moment, we do have high pressure in charge, but plenty of old weather fronts around. And these are really going to be a focus of some cloud and some outbreaks of rain. So for much of England and Wales, a rather dull afternoon to come. The cloud may thin at times, but really the best of the sunshine today will be across parts of Scotland and eastern parts of Northern Ireland. And where we do see the sunshine, it won't feel too bad at all for the time of year. And even under the cloud, we will still see highs reaching double figures. So as we do end the afternoon, again, the best of the sunshine will be focused across parts of Scotland, especially eastern and southern parts of the country, where further west we will see this band of cloud and rain approach the country. Sunshine already at a premium at this stage across Northern Ireland, but still some late spells of sunshine here. But really for much of England and Wales, it's going to be a grey end to the day. Main risk of rain really across parts of southwest England, Wales and northern England. And really little changes as we go throughout the course of the evening and night. A lot of cloud around, the cloud lowering in places to give some mist and murk, and also thick enough to produce some outbreaks of rain. Maybe some more persistent rain arriving across parts of Scotland as the night goes on. But the cloud cover will help to act like a blanket once again, and for most of us it will be a fairly mild night to come. But it will give us a grey start to Monday. Sunshine's really going to be at premium during the morning. But I'm hopeful across England and Wales we should start to see the cloud break up tomorrow. So hopefully some sunshine breaking through here. But still plenty of cloud around, and that cloud will be thick enough in places to produce some spits and spots of rain. But for most of us, again, another fairly mild day. If we do see some sunshine down towards the southeast, we could see highs here reaching 16 or 17 degrees.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. And now we are going to have the debate of the day. International Women's Day today, evidently. Hello, happy day if you're celebrating. And if you're not celebrating, why aren't you celebrating? But, is it actually meaning anything at the moment? Does it make any difference? Well, to have a heated debate about this, I have two marvellous women, author Davinia Taylor and journalist and broadcaster, the wonderful Angela Epstein. Ladies, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. OK, and there you are. Exactly. See, the problem there, ladies, is I was relying on a man to make you both magically appear on screen. Big mistake on International Women's Day, but I'm not naming him. Jake, you're in trouble. OK, now, International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day. Let's come to you first, Angela. What's the point of it? Does it actually make any difference?
Well, hello to both of you and to all women who are celebrating it, but I think it's a hollow gesture because we can't celebrate the empowerment of women and all the wonderful things that have been achieved by women, the glorious things in the world of gender inequality. We've fought for equality of opportunity, fought against objectification in the workplace, all of these great battles that brave women have fought and won for all of us. If on a daily basis, the relationships we have with friends and particularly in the workplace, women do not advocate for each other, they undermine each other, they behave like queen bees, they're bitchy. There are reams of stats which support this. I mean, one bit in particular sprung out at me. 70% of female executives have been bullied and undermined by other women in the workplace, and 90% of bullying in the workplace has been women towards women. Now, these are astonishing statistics. I'm very fortunate. I've got incredible, glorious, loyal friends who I would lie down in front of a bus for, and I hope vice versa. Equally, I've worked with brilliant, talented women like your good self, Dawn. We've worked together many times. Okay, blush, blush. But you are brilliant. It's a pleasure and a privilege to work with you on this and other programmes. But, and obviously there's a but the size of a mountain coming up, for every one of those, my personal moments of greatest unhappiness in the workplace and in friendships have been because of women who, as soon as they sniff success with the tiniest S, I'm not talking about big major achievements, have been unsupportive, have been insecure, have been jealous, and actually amongst the worst are those who see bad behaviour by one woman towards another and have said nothing. And I've written about this on a number of occasions in the Mail and other places. And I get a massive amount I get a huge response from this, from people saying, women saying, gosh, this is what's happening to me. Why? We have these big gestures. We know women are doing great things. They're going into space. They're in politics. They're running countries. Fabulous. I want my own daughter to have all those opportunities. But it is meaningless if women on a daily basis cannot be supportive of each other, and I don't understand why we have this mismatch and disconnect between the two.
OK, Davinia, let's bring you in. Is that your experience, that women don't do enough to support other women? The sisterhood doesn't exist?
Well, every time I've been in the Mail, actually, I do get horrific comments from both men and women. I mean, it's like a no-go area. People are nasty, people are bitchy, and people are judgmental. However, that shouldn't stop International Women's Day, because there's far more important things we should be highlighting, like child marriage, FGM. I mean, the fact that marital rape was only outlawed in 1991 is crazy, and it's because of International Women's Day that these sort of things get spoken about. about. I'm CEO, I employ loads of women, and I would never have bullying in my workplace. I literally write about women's health, which, by the way, is completely underfunded. The amount of money that goes into erectile dysfunction versus the menopause is ridiculous. So, I mean, it's no reason to stop just because of a minority of nasty women and men bullying each other, because that's just jealousy, and that is across all genders. Do not get me wrong. I think we should carry on with it and shout even louder, because the sisterhood is something that I'm so proud of. I've written about it lots of times, and I do think the media can be completely toxic and turn women against each other. Why? I've no idea. But I'm raising boys. I've got 4 boys, and I am still tight as anything with my friends from school. I mean, they are the funniest people in the world. I would literally lie down for those as well. But, you know, I mean, we have to change. We have to stop stabbing each other in the back, because it's been manipulated by the media for God knows how long. Body shaming, dysmorphia, eating disorders, aging, anti-aging, the whole shebang. It's ridiculous. We need to carry on this fight, as far as I'm concerned, as a mother of boys, never mind not having girls.
Well, I would say, I mean, sorry, I was going to say, Davina, I'd love to come and work for you, because you sound like
I need loads of people. I'm a growing business. We have
And I respect, you know, obviously I respect your opinion, and we're having a considered debate about this, which is wonderful, which is how it should be. And all the things you say are true, that International Women's Day have shone a spotlight on a lot of things that have held women back. What I'm saying is there comes a point when the symbolism and the substance are at odds with each other. So we can talk about hashtag IWD, whatever it is this year. Why don't we talk about it every day of the year? You know, it shouldn't just be some symbolic day. And the other thing I would say, sorry, Dawn, very quickly is it is, you know, respectfully, it's an easy get out of jail card to blame the media. The media is a platform. It's what you do with it and who you speak to. And I've been a journalist for nearly 40 years.
I have been bullied since I was 16 years old by the media.
Okay.
Bullied, humiliated on every level imaginable. And
I understand that. Can I just finish the point?
No, because this is your part of the
let me finish the point. Let me finish the point. You can't have a conversation if you don't let me make the point that I'm going to make, in which case it may reorientate what your response would be. And women have to learn to listen to each other. That's key. I understand that you shouldn't be bullied, and that a figure, somebody who's had public profile, you've been a very well-known actress and personality, it attracts horrible comment. But equally, I have known, as somebody who's been a journalist for over 38 years, I think it is now, some of the worst responses I've had in the media has provided the platform for the debate, like we're having here now. And other women have come at me for daring to say, for example, I'm a non-feminist. I don't believe in feminism. I believe in equality. Because if you talk about feminism, then it sounds like it's just a debate for women. If we're going to talk about equality of opportunity, we need men in the room to hear it. Otherwise, we're an echo chamber. I was once on a very high. Well, I was just once on a very high profile.
Ladies, one at a time. Davina.
I was once on a very high profile.
I'm running a business and I'm raising 4 men. So if you let me speak for a second,
I've got 3 boys and a girl, so I understand.
I've also been a victim of bullying, publicly shamed many, many times by the media. I know exactly what I'm talking about. It's abhorrent, and it still happens today. And I am here to say it's okay. You can still be a successful mother, CEO, author, and ignore the people in the background, because that's all we can do. We do not ignore the plight of international women because of a few nasty women front and centre of social media.
Well, ladies, can I just interrupt? Because one element I wanted to raise with both of you, we're talking about International Women's Day and women around the world. Obviously, there's a situation in Iran. We know how appallingly women and girls have been treated in Iran, and also the treatment of women in Afghanistan at the moment. Angela, can I just get your thoughts on, we have United Nations women's group saying we are supporting all women, and yet they're very suspiciously quiet when it comes to countries like Afghanistan and Iran
100%.
and how women are being treated.
Yeah, I would say also, by the way, Davina, I've got 3 boys and a girl, so I do understand about raising boys as well. It's been awful. Where Iran is concerned, when there was the uprising, 30,000 people were killed. Women were being brutalized. And those hand-wringing, virtue-signaling celebrities who love to burnish their credentials were deafeningly quiet, as they were after October the 7th. On October the 7th, when Hamas committed a genocidal attack on Israel, at the Nova Festival, Young women were brutalised, raped, burned. All those celebrities, not a word. They were even disputing, despite GoPro footage, that these rapes took place and these murders took place. So people, women included, particularly now with Iran and Afghanistan, can be terribly selective, which comes back to my point. The problem with having International Women's Day is men will say, oh, it's just women banging on, because it's become very tokenistic and it's a hashtag. We need to have the conversation with everybody, not just women.
You know what, Angela, I completely agree. There are so many people who are silent over Iran, and you know what? Child marriage happens in the USA as well as Iran. It's ridiculous that we don't give it equal footing. I couldn't agree with you more.
OK, ladies, we have unfortunately run out of time. I could talk to you both all day. That is our author, Davinia Taylor, and journalist and broadcaster, Angela Epstein. Thank you so much for joining me. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, and don't go too far, because Gloria De Piero met Conservative MP Nusrat Ghani, who opened up on abhorrent anti-Muslim discrimination that she faced in politics. We'll listen to that interview next. But if you are in search of some holiday sun before that, here's the forecast for you.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, it's a mixed picture across Europe. Rain in places, but also some showers, sunnier across Greece. So some strong winds across Madeira and the Canary Islands with some outbreaks of rain, more so across much of Portugal through Monday. Showers heavy at times across much of the Mediterranean, but drier across Greece. That's where we'll see some sunny spells. And that theme continues really through the week. Best of the sunshine across Greece, highs of up to 17 to 19.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning
from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company. Now, this week, Gloria Del Piero met Conservative MP Nusrat Ghani, who opened up on abhorrent anti-Muslim discrimination that she faced in politics. Let's have a listen to that interview.
You lost your job in 2020. And in January 2022, you gave an interview and you said that when you were removed from your position, you were told that your Muslimness was an issue. Now, the chief whip at the time, he disputed that. I guess rather than going over that, I want to ask you if you think there is anti-Muslim prejudice in politics.
Well, that happened to me. And the reality is that you can lose your job in politics for multiple reasons, right? I never expected to be told that my faith was an issue. It's not something that I'd... I've got wonderful colleagues in my party. It came as a huge surprise. And then what unfolded was completely unnecessary. And I wouldn't want anyone else to go through that again. So for me, it was important that I challenged it. But the reality is, I feel that if I constantly have to comment on it, it ends up defining me. And fundamentally, it should be defining the people, the protagonists, who used their power at the time to try and diminish who I am. So, and the reality also is that I am still here and I have continued with my career. There's also, you know this as well, having, been a member of parliament, there is a saying, no good deed goes unpunished in politics. For me, what happened was so abhorrent. I did not want it to happen to another colleague ever again. And because I took a stand, I'm hoping that it won't. I also don't think it was just about my faith. I think there's an element of misogyny involved and an element that there was a complete power imbalance. But I wasn't going to let it pass. It's now done. And the protagonists should be explaining their actions. And we should leave it there. I think the real challenge that we have in politics is how do we incentivize people to do the right thing? And how do we ensure when people do the right thing that they aren't admonished for doing that as well? And, if people are... And I think the biggest challenge that we have in politics is providing the space for women and then working class people to come forward. Absolutely. Because we don't naturally have those networks and power bases when we get to Parliament. So we're working as individuals, and then you're so busy in your constituency, you hang out with your MPs closest to you regionally, or the MPs that you campaign with, but we're not linked into those other power networks, and there should we be. And I think that is a big challenge, and politics still needs to be cleaned up on that front, I think.
Gosh, yeah. How do you do it? I mean, I just looked at social media just to see what people say about you. And, some people are very nice about you, but there's absolute racism on there. There's absolutely questions about whether you, as a Muslim person, should even be in our chamber. I mean, it's quite disgusting what I've just read before we sat down.
Well, that was the budget experience. But I think I've been an MP since 2015, and when you are a Conservative Member of Parliament, especially if you're a female Conservative Member of Parliament, I always expected a little bit of pushback. It's like, and politics is pretty brutal. And that was fine. What I didn't expect to be so much commentary about my heritage, my faith, or my race. But I suppose I've got a thick skin over the years. And just this week, I was at an event where we had 2,000 young people studying politics at A-level, came and asking questions of different types of MPs. And then a young chap called Darren said he'd seen my Twitter, seen people commenting about me on Twitter, and a lot of that was abusive about me being a female and, not being white Brit, as it were. And he said that so he doesn't want to enter the space. And I think that's the worst thing that can happen. So my job is to continue going forward and ensuring that more people that think that Parliament and the Green Benches and SW1 isn't for them is saying it is for you. And there are so many of us here that will be super supportive once you get here. But if we vacate that space, we'll have people representing us and our views and our ambitions that have no shared experiences with us. And for me, fundamentally, that is somebody that, you know, even though I am a Sussex MP, I'm also a Brummie. I grew up in Birmingham, in a very working class area where people's opportunities were incredibly limited. And I want to make sure that those people are fully represented so their ambitions can be, you know, understood by government and those policies can relate to their lives as well. We can't vacate the space, and we're all here on merit. And people like myself who have to just have a huge amount of resilience, we're not going to be pushed out to make space for people that are undeserving.
Very well put.
OK, that was Gloria De Piero there, and you can watch more of that interview on the gbnews.com. The full interview is there for you. OK, now lots of you have been getting in touch about International Women's Day, and I just wanted to read this particular fact that I just found from the UN Women, by the way, who don't support women properly because they still think that men can be women. However, just want to read this one fact I put up on their website just now. You know, in 2026, no country in the world has reached full legal equality for women and girls. Now, when we were doing the debate now, we were just talking about the situation for women and girls in countries like Iran, where you know, you can marry a 9-year-old and women are killed, basically, for showing their hair. And also, obviously, in Afghanistan, where women have absolutely no rights and domestic violence has literally been legalised. In fact, and this is a fact, animals have more rights in Afghanistan than women and girls. But even in this country, things aren't great, ladies. Our Sadiq Khan has put this message out today saying that let me find it for you. It's coming up, sorry, bear with me. Sadiq Khan, right? This is the Mayor of London. To the women leading, creating, carrying, keeping our city thriving, thank you. Yet the rising tide of misogyny should alarm us all. Across the globe, we are seeing a backlash against women's hard-won freedoms and rights. The fight to build a fairer, safer world for women is more urgent than ever. Now, Sadiq Khan is Mayor of London, where we have one rape every hour, and that is probably an underestimate because many, many women do not report sexual assaults because they know the treatment they're going to get is not going to go anywhere, and many of the times they will be actually treated as the you know, as the ones that are guilty in the first place. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister, that's Sir Keir Starmer still, says Happy International Women's Day. In Downing Street this week, we celebrated the achievements of women across our country. Now, bearing in mind, this is the Prime Minister that not long ago did actually say that women could have penises. It has been an interesting take, and this is why I want to do that debate on International Women's Day, because what is Women's Day? I don't know. I don't know anymore, because I don't know about you, but I don't feel that things are getting better. I feel the clock is turning back for us. In any case, I've been Dawn Neeson, this has been GBNews, and thank you at home for watching. I've really loved it, but don't go anywhere because there's another woman coming up. Yes, it's the wonderful Nana Akua. She's up straight after this show. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Well, the week ahead, we start off with plenty of cloud around, then it turns unsettled during the middle part of the week before something a little bit colder heads our way as we head towards next weekend. But at the moment, we still got high pressure in charge, but still plenty of old weather fronts around, and these are really going to be a focus of cloud and outbreaks of rain across many parts of the UK. So as we end Sunday, plenty of cloud around, still some clear spells initially across the far north of Scotland, but by the course of the night, most of us seeing plenty of cloud, and that cloud will lower at times to produce some mist and murk, and also be thick enough to produce some outbreaks of rain, especially across more western and northern parts of the country. But it will act like a blanket, so most of us, we'll start Monday off on a fairly mild note, but it will come with plenty of cloud and again some mist and murk around. So first we start Monday morning across southwest England and Wales. That cloud will still be thick enough in places to produce some spots of rain. A very similar story for northern England and Scotland too. Maybe a few glimmers of sunshine for eastern parts of Northern Ireland and also maybe around the Moray Firth area. But for most of us, we do, as I mentioned, start off on a rather overcast note. But I'm hopeful as we go through the course of the day, especially across eastern parts of England, that cloud will begin to break up, allowing some spells of sunshine here. But elsewhere, generally still plenty of cloud around as we go into the afternoon, and again the risk of some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, especially across more western parts. But where we do see any sunshine break through, especially down towards East Anglia, we could see highs here reaching around 16 or 17 degrees. Very little changes as we move into the evening hours, still plenty of cloud around, a few breaks from time to time, and then later on we start to see this next weather front begin to move in, bringing in a more persistent spell of rain. And as we move towards the middle part of the week, further spells of rain coming in from the west, with temperatures for most of us around average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's a prize package worth over £92,000. There's a totally tax-free £25,000 in cash that you'll be able to spend on anything you like this year. Plus, you'll also get to drive away in a brand new Benevan 122 camper van. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, this latest 2026 model comes fully loaded with everything you'd expect. For a